Assalamu alaikum. This is Talk to Farina Najam from Division of Arts and Social Sciences, University of Education, Lower Mall Campus, Lahore. Dear students, our topic is about pointillism. This is practical topic. First of all, I would like to explain about this topic. So, what is pointillism? Pointillism, also called divisionism in painting, the practice of applying small strokes or dots of color to a surface so that from a distance they visually blend together. The technique is associated with its inventor, George Seurat, and his student, Paul Signac, who both promoted New Impressionism, a name of a movement that flourished from the late 1880 to the first decade of the 20th century. Contrasting colors became known as pointillism. Using this technique, George Seurat created huge compositions. His paintings consist of thousands of closely spaced small dots of color. When viewed up close, the individual points of color are apparent to the eye. Viewed from afar, the individual points cannot be resolved because of diffraction. How do you paint using a pointillist style? The pointillist style is different to pull off, but the idea is simple. Instead of mixing your paints on your palette, you use small dots of distinct color and rely somewhat on optical mixing to do most of the work. The amount of optical mixing that occur will depend on how large the dots of paint you use and the distance people view your painting from. The smaller the dots, the more optical mixing will occur. In general, pointillism will only result in partial optical mixing. You will usually be able to see the distinct dots of color but not clearly. This can result in a stunning visual arrangement of color which seems to vibrate. So if you want to paint an area of green in your painting, instead of mixing a nice green on your palette, you could use small dots of yellow, blue and green to create the appearance of green on your palette. The resulting green will depend on the proportion of different colors you use. In this painting by Paul Signac, one of the figureheads of the Pointillism art movement. You can see the small dots. When you zoom in on the painting, you can see all the distinct dots of color. Close-ups of the grass. Also, you can leave areas of canvas exposed to add an extra level variance and to control the lightness of the perceived color. The more space between the dots, the lighter the perceived color. The issue of pointillism is that you can't reliable, reliably predict how people will perceive the colors in your painting. Physically mixing paint is hard enough, but relying so much on optical mixing introduces a whole new level of inconsistency. When you place small dots of yellow, blue, and green on a canvas, you may assume people would see green, but this is a loose assumption at best. The color people see will depend on so many variables. The benefits of pointillism. One of the benefits of the pointillist style is that you can, in theory, use more vivid, pure color in your painting. You will all appreciate that the more you mix your colors, the less saturated they become. With pointillism, you could negate this by using small dots of pure color to give the illusion of a different color. The compromise of pointillism. When painting in a pointillist style, you naturally compromise the drawing, edges, and brushwork of your painting to some extent. When you commit to painting with just small dots of color, there is not much room for delicate drawing, strong edges, or skillful brushwork. This may not matter to you, and you may prefer to rely more on a contrast in hue, value, and saturation to create the illusion of form in your painting. It all comes down to personal preference, but it is important to be aware to compromises of different styles. Also, if you use pointillism so that you can paint with more vivid and pure colors, then you may be sacrificing the range of values you use in your painting. This is because most colors reach full saturation around the mid-value range. If you want to hit those dark values, you generally need to start introducing black to some extent. Then what you can learn from the pointillism art movement. This art movement was based on a somewhat misguided understanding of how color works and how we perceive it. The movement did produce some stunning artworks and techniques which you can apply to your painting. One of the things I notice about pointillist paintings is how the color vibrates. This is because the distinct dots of color are only partially blending in our eyes, resulting in a visual dance between all the competing colors. For your viewing pleasure, here are some of the stunning paintings that resulted from the pointillism movement. Beautiful artwork in pointillism. You can see the different dots of color. Another. Landscape in Pointillism. Thanks.